to another episode of the Leveraging Gifts podcast. I'm your host, Anquilla Bellow. Join us weekly as we explore the 6 pillars of success: faith, time, health, connections, money, and your genius. I believe that each of these pillars are gifts that we can leverage to aid us in creating a life filled with greater impact, influence, and income. So come along on the journey as we leverage our gifts. Hey friend, welcome back to another episode of the Leveraging Gifts podcast. I'm your host, Anquilla Bellow, and can you believe it is officially 2023? Like, it's 2023. Y'all know what? This is the year. Well, this isn't the year, but 20 years ago in 2003, I graduated from high school. Like, it just clicked in my brain that this year would be my high school's 20th anniversary. My graduating class, rather, 20th anniversary. Whoa, how has time flown? I didn't really realize it's been 20 years since I graduated from high school. Dang. Oh, man. I'm aging. Okay. I should have thought about it because I have a 20-year-old. But yeah, you guys you just witnessed that revelation with me. So yes, we are officially in 2023 and I have officially been in May, I will officially have been a high school graduate for 20 years. Quite interesting. Yep, we're going to move forward. So to kick this year off strong, I'm working on embracing who I am and all the greatness that's within me, which is amazing that I've been out of high school for 20 years because I need to look up what the number 20 means because it has to have a biblical significance, because this is the year that I'm maximizing everything that God has given me, every gift, every talent, every ability, every open door, every opportunity. And this is like where it's all come full circle. And I'm now walking in the things, like truly walking in them. I started last year, but I've set up at the end of 2022, I set up a lot of things so that in 2023, I can truly leap into all the things that God has given me and using my abilities the way he's told me to use them. It's so funny that he even gave me the series that we're going to be talking about at the beginning of this year, because it just hit. It all makes so much sense. We're going to dive into that a little bit in this episode. But as I'm saying, I'm working on not only embracing all of who I am and the greatness that's on the inside of me, but maximizing it till its fullest potential, going out and excelling and accelerating at a super fast speed. And so I figured that if I'm doing that for myself, that we should do this together versus alone. You're here, I'm here, so we can join each other and lock arms as we both go into 2023 to become the powerhouses that we were destined to be. Because when you want to go slow, you go alone. But when you want to go faster, you go at it with others. So we're going to go at it together. For the next couple of episodes, we'll be diving into the Authentically You series. Meaning, I just really want us to get in our minds who we are, whose we are, and what we were created for, so that nothing is holding us back in 2023. It's time for you and for me to walk in our power and be exactly who God called us to be. But before we dive into the content for today, this episode, I need a favor. I need you to rate and review the podcast. I need you to rate and review the podcast because that's how these things work. Other people find the show because you talk about how great it is within the podcast player. Some of you have sent me amazing DMs. You've emailed me. You've even told me in person, if I've met you, how the show has changed your life or how this one thing that I said made you rethink the way you were doing things. But now what I need from you, my ask, is that you rate and review the show in your favorite podcast player so that others who are looking for content that will push them into leveraging their gifts, living a life of impact, walking in purpose, and being all that God created them to be can find the show. That's how they're going to find it. I can do all the marketing in the world, which I'm going to do. You're going to see this stuff amp up because I'm maximizing, baby. But even while I do all of that, I need the show to show up in other people's suggestions. And that happens because of your ratings and your reviews. I want to thank you in advance for the ratings and for the reviews. And as always, I appreciate you for tuning in, for listening to my voice, and for being a subscriber or follower, because they're constantly changing things in the apps. One time it's subscribe, then the next time it's follow, whatever. All I want to say is thank you for being here, and thank you for the rating and for the review. Now let's get into it. So coming into this series of being authentically you, the first thing I really wanted us to get our minds around is owning who you are. A lot of times we don't truly own who we are or even grasp what that means to own who you are, to take up space, to not be limited by how other people perceive you to be, to stop looking at others and look within yourself, to say, who am I? What was I created to be? To have the courage to be different, to not only think outside the box, but to throw the box away, to do things in a way that you've never done them before, or to do things in a way that others don't expect you to do them. To be the blueprint for your own life and stop looking at someone else's blueprint. To embrace who you are and stop being disconnected from who God created you to be. And as I really thought about that concept, like that thought, the idea of owning who you are, I realized that it's a concept that's rooted in confidence. To own who you are, you have to walk and operate and move in confidence. When you walk and operate and move in confidence, you're not thinking about what someone else has to say about you. You're not thinking about how people perceive you, what they think of you. You're literally saying, this is who I am. This is who God created me to be, and I'm going to walk tall. I'm going to stand in this. I'm going to stand in this power. And that can be hard for a lot of us because we want to be accepted. We want to be acknowledged. We want to be liked. We want other people to approve of who we are, so we're not authentically who we are. We want to be pleasing to the palate of someone else. So we downplay our personalities. We shrink when we're in rooms with other people to make them feel bigger and bolder than we are. We stop talking when someone feels like, oh, you're a know-it-all. We don't show our passion for things that really light us up, or we're easily agreeable, even when we don't really internally agree with that concept or that idea. We don't embrace our core values and beliefs because people are going to label us a certain way or say different things about us because your core value or your core belief may go against what's trending in society at the time. And when you do any of those things, you're not owning who you are. You're not being authentically you. And if you can't be authentically you at the core of how you carry yourself day in and day out, it's hard to be authentically you and start to use the gifts and talents that lives on the inside of you, because they're going to be stifled. And they're going to be stifled because you're still thinking about other people. You're still thinking about what they're going to think or what they're going to say or how they're going to perceive you or how they're going to treat you. And until you can begin to understand that to own who you are and to walk in who you're called to be, it starts with being confident in who God created you to be. It starts with understanding that you're not here to please people. You're here to please Him. And if He's happy with what you're doing and how you're moving, if you're not doing things out of the order that Christ told you to do them, if other people don't get it, that's okay. Walk tall. Walk tall in who He called you to be. Walk tall in who he created you to be, because when you can do that, when you can be confident in who you are in Christ, then you can begin to leverage your gifts. Then you can begin to use your talents and your skills and your abilities. There's this young lady that I know, and I remember when I first met her. Well, not even when I first met her, when I first saw her. When I first saw her, and I saw the way she was dressed, and she is stylish, you guys. Very, very stylish. Like, I'm telling you, she could be in vogue. If people caught her walking on the streets, they could take pictures of her, and those pictures could have been in Vogue magazine. So when I first saw her, I was like, wow, she's dressed so different, but she's so confident. I never looked at her style or her dress or thought it was weird. I looked at her and I was like, dang, I wish I had that confidence to wear that. I wish I had the confidence she had to stand in that outfit, because that's a bad outfit. She looks amazing, and she stood out amongst her peers, and other people may have thought it was a bit too much. It was this or it was that. But for me, whenever I saw her, I always saw confidence. I always saw style. I always saw somebody that embraced and owned who they were, regardless of what other people thought. This is me seeing her. And then when I got to know her, I knew that she was truly confident. She was truly confident in who she was, regardless of what anybody thought, regardless of what anybody perceived, regardless of what anybody may have wanted her to be. She stood tall in who she was created to be. And I truly admired that about her. She was who she was, and there was nothing anybody could say or do about it. There was a level of confidence there, of her owning herself and being authentically who God created her to be in every area of her life. So when she made decisions that other people may not have necessarily agreed with or balked at, it didn't bother her, because she was who God created her to be. And that's what this owning who you are is. That's where it starts. It starts with being true to you, being true to your core values, being true to your beliefs. It means toning down the voice of others and embracing what makes you unique. It may even mean going against the status quo, and that is a-okay. Owning who you are is also being true to your goals, to your desires, even when they're different from others, even when they're different from your families, even when they're different from your friends. It's okay if you want a different lifestyle. It's okay if you want to be in a different income bracket. It's okay if you want to move away and the rest of your family has never left your small town or just never left your state. That's okay. Maybe you live in a big city and all of your family has lived in the city and you no longer want to live in the city. You want to live in a small town and your family's like, what? But we're city dwellers. That's okay. Maybe you have a different goal. It's okay if none of your family has ever been married, but you see yourself married with children and everybody's looking at you like you're crazy because they don't believe in commitment and they don't believe in monogamy and they don't believe that marriage works, but you do. That's something that you see for your life. That is okay for you to own that. Be who you are. Be true to the desires that God has placed on your heart. Another story. My best friend and I, it's funny that we are at a point where we are about to hit our 20-year high school reunion. Wow. It's very interesting that we're hitting our high school reunion. My best friend and I have been friends for about 26 years. And I can remember being in high school and we were sitting. I can remember us sitting in our high school cafeteria. And we're sitting in the cafeteria and we all are looking like little Aaliyahs with baggy pants on. We have on these tummy heel figure button ups that are unbuttoned. We have on these crop tops underneath with some type of kicks, some type of Jordan 1s. We're all sitting around and kind of talking about what we want to become in life. It's loud. You got kids running around, going to get their lunch, making all this noise. Some people are saying like, I want to be a principal. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be an entertainer. Like everybody's calling out their careers. And my best friend and I looked at each other at the same time. I have no idea how it happened. We looked at each other, our eyes met. And at the same time, we burst out and said, I want to be an entrepreneur. Everybody, the rest of our friends turned their heads and looked and was like, what? And at the time, we both said, I want to make like over $300,000 a year. I have no idea why these two high schoolers thought entrepreneurs only made like $300,000 a year and not millions or billions. Or some of them only make less than that. But in that moment, we started giggling and laughing. But in our minds, the only way we were going to make $300,000 a year is if we were entrepreneurs, and we had to be entrepreneurs to make $300,000 a year. We had very different definitions of what that would be. She wanted to do something in the healthcare field. I wanted to do something in the psychology field, but we were both going to be entrepreneurs making over $300,000 a year. And I tell you that story because the rest of our friends called out some amazing careers. Some of them wanted to be in law enforcement. Some of them wanted to be accountants. Some of them decided that they wanted to be principals or teachers or administrators or counselors. But no one in that moment said that they wanted to make more than $100,000 a year. At least that was sitting at that table. Don't get me wrong. I had some other friends that weren't there in that moment that had well surpassed $100,000 a year a very long time ago. But in that moment, everyone around us was kind of looking at us as if we were weird, as if we were different. Like, you want to be business owners? And that was another thing. No one said they wanted to own a business. You want to be business owners. And you want to make over $300,000 a year, where everyone else was kind of like, they just wanted to have a really fulfilling job, preferably high end, but a really fulfilling job. And some of them wanted to make in the hundreds. But the thing that stood out is that we wanted to be business owners. And that was different because where we came from, there weren't a lot of business owners. There weren't a lot of people who were doing it themselves the way they wanted to do it. Most of our families, our aunts, our uncles, and everyone that we saw, they worked for someone else. But we both had the idea in that moment, sitting in high school in this loud behind cafeteria at a table looking at magazines, that we wanted to be business owners. That was our desire. That was our goal. And it was different from anything else all around us. And I can remember from that day, from that moment, even to this moment, there have been plenty of times where we have been questioned. Her and I both on this entrepreneurial journey have been questioned about that same goal and desire that we had since we were in high school. Like, you sure you want to own a business? I don't know. That entrepreneurship thing hard. Or family members telling us you should just get a regular job. You should go back to school and get a PhD in this. Maybe you should get your master's degree in that. You should enter this career field. You sure you don't want to do that? And it's been hard. And it's been challenging because it was different. It wasn't just outside the box. There was no box because there was no blueprint. There was no one else in our environment, in our community doing what we were doing. Everyone from that we knew from where we were from, if they didn't have a great paying job or went on to be in like education or law enforcement, then they made it out through sports. They made it out being powerhouse athletes and going on to be in the NFL or maybe even in the NBA. But no one had made it out and done something differently using the gifts and talents on the inside of them and being their own boss. We hadn't seen that. So for us to say that was weird. And we had to hold on to that conviction to be authentically us, to be true, and to own who we were. And it has been challenging over the years. Because it's one of those things, sometimes being who you are, it comes with its own sets of obstacles. It comes with its own sets of challenges, especially when your family doesn't get it, especially when those closest to you can't understand how you want to do something so different than what anybody else has ever done. No one in our family has ever done that. No one in our community has ever done that. No one in our immediate circle has ever done that. These are our core beliefs. These are our core values. And you're saying you want to do something that is different than our core values, than our core beliefs. You're saying you want to have different goals. You want to have different desire in life. That's when you start to get, oh, so you think you're better than us? You think you're different than us? You want to have a PhD when we don't have any PhDs, when everybody has only ever went to school and got a trade? What are you saying? So you think you're better than us because you want to be the vice president of a university? Better yet, you want to be the president of a top university? And because you tend to have those goals and those dreams, and the people around you don't get them, sometimes they can crush them. And if you don't have the confidence to own who you are and stand in that truth, it can stop you from moving forward. It can stop you from doing the very thing that you were created and put on this earth to do. And you'll be floundering like a fish out of water because that's not where you're supposed to be. That's not what you're supposed to do. You'll end up trying thing after thing after thing after thing, looking and searching for who you're supposed to be. And nothing will seem to stick. Dang, I tried this, but that didn't work. Okay, I'm going to try this next thing. Oh, that's not working either. I'm going to try this other thing over here. Nope, that's not really it. And it all boils back down to the fact that you're not being true to yourself and you're not owning who you are. I am a standing example. That was a profound moment between her and I in this high school cafeteria. But because life happened and because other people's thoughts happened and because I didn't have the confidence to stand in who I was and who God told me I was and who he called me to be, that I was like, I don't really know. Let me try these different things. And so I'm out here trying all types of things. Like, I have tried different career fields. I've went back to school time and time again. Maybe I should get a degree in this. Or maybe I should get a degree in that. You know what? I have this degree, but maybe I should go back and get a master's in this thing. It's like, I don't think that's it. Maybe I should get a master's in that thing. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to get this job. And then, that's not working. And I'm bouncing around and I'm trying thing to thing to thing to thing. And they're not working. And not from the standpoint of, there's not responsibilities that I have. So sometimes it's like, hey, you have these responsibilities and you still have to take care of yourself. You're an adult. But what I'm saying is I'm not being true. I wasn't being true to the real desire that lived on the inside of me. The true desire to want to speak. The true desire to want to coach and lead and direct. The true desire to be who I was always called and created to be, to see the breadcrumbs that had been there my entire life. But I didn't want to own that because I don't know, it had been crushed before. You want to be what? You want to be a coach? You want to be a speaker? I'm not sure how those are real careers. Well, if you really want to be a business owner, if you really want to be an entrepreneur, why don't you try this? Because we've seen other people do this. We know people that do this. And then you begin to doubt yourself. You begin to be unsure of who you are. And you begin to think, you know what? I'll try this thing. I'll go back to school and I'll get a degree in this. Or I'll get these licenses. Or I'll enroll in this program and this person will show me how they did what they do. But none of those things resonate with you. None of those things are really what you want to do, and you can feel it. You can tell that it's just not right. It's just not sitting within you. And wow, those things aren't bad. They're not. They just won't work for you because they're not who you were called to be. You're not owning who you are. You're not being authentically you. Or you'll do them, but you'll be unhappy because you didn't take the time out to be who you are. You have yet to look at yourself and acknowledge the gifts and the talents that lie within you. Okay, that's great that everyone in your family has been in law enforcement and you have decades of individuals that were police officers. But if you were honest with yourself, you don't want to be in law enforcement. If you were honest with yourself, you want to be a college professor. You like teaching. If you were honest with yourself, you don't want to be a lawyer. I get it. We have a family firm. Everyone has been attorneys. They're all great at it. But you want to be a real estate developer. You spend your time looking at these different communities and looking at malls and outside shops and figuring out how somebody developed that community. How did they put this together? And the abilities and the talents that you have point to that. The things that you're good at point to that. But, this entire time, my whole family has been filled with attorneys. It's just expected that I go into the family business, but that's not who you are. But you're going to do it because you're not owning who you are. You're going to do it because you're not standing in the confidence of who you are. But you know what? The truth is, you may have to disappoint some people. You may have to make some people upset. You may have to make some people not want to be your friend anymore, not want to be a part of your life, because you are deciding to stand in your truth and be who you are. And be who God created you to be from the very beginning. Because from the very beginning, if we go and we take a look at Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 4, it says, "The word of the Lord came to me." And this is what God said to Jeremiah. "I chose you before I formed you in the womb. I set you apart before you were born. I anointed you a prophet to the nations." If you take a look at that, what did God tell Jeremiah? I knew you before I formed you in the womb. God gave you your gifts and talents before he formed you. So you should be confident that even if man doesn't understand, even if the people around you don't get it, even if your family and friends are unsure, God put those desires in your heart. He wrote your book of destiny. He said all these things before you were ever formed. He set you apart before you were even born. Whatever that thing is you were supposed to do. Yeah, Jeremiah was supposed to be a prophet, but if you were supposed to be a principal, God already set you apart to be a principal. He gave you the heart and the desires to lead in that manner. If you were supposed to be a doctor, God already gave you the understanding that you would need to be able to process the information to be a doctor. If you were supposed to be a litigator, God already gave you the ability to debate and to argue points in a way that no one else can. Before you were formed, he already set you apart to do that very thing. So people may not get it. People may not understand it, and that is okay because God gets it. He understands it. He even told Jeremiah, "Do not be afraid of anyone, for I will be with you to rescue you." So don't be afraid of what these people have to say. Don't be afraid of their thoughts and their ideas. Be authentically you. Be authentically who God called you to be. Be authentically who he designed you to be. Walk tall in that. Walk tall in it. And get over the fear that resides within yourself. Because that's one other problem. Once we start to build our confidence and we understand that this is who we are. It's not what you do, it's who you are. If you're a leader, that's who you are. If you're a teacher, that's who you are. If you're a writer, that is who you are. If you're an encourager, that's who you are. If you organize things, that's who you are. That's the makeup that God put on the inside of you. But once you get that confidence to embrace that that's who you are, a lot of times the other thing that holds us back is fear. And it's not fear from other people. It's the fear that lives within us that if I own this thing, if I really stand tall and I put my energy behind this thing and I go after this thing with every fiber of my being, I might not measure up. I might not be good enough. It might not happen for me the way it happened for someone else. I may not really succeed. What if I go head first into this thing and it doesn't really work out? So then you begin to think, I can't risk it all. It's too risky. It's too risky to be a writer. It's too risky to go after the vice president role. It's too risky for someone like me. who doesn't have the education or who doesn't process and learn information the way others process and learn information. It's too risky for me to try to get into medical school to be a neurosurgeon because I might paralyze someone. It's too risky. I can't do it. I can't embrace that I may make a mistake. I can't embrace that I may fail. So it's just easier. It's just easier for me not to truly say who I am. It's just easier for me not to truly own who God created me to be. It's just a little bit easier. It's just a little bit easier to not go after speaking engagements. It's just a little bit easier to not market my podcast. It's just a little bit easier to not brand myself as a speaker. It's just a little bit easier to not prospect. It's just a little bit easier to not walk out on stage with the lights shining on me and all the eyes are turned up looking towards me, and I have the microphone in my hand and I have to say words that capture this crowd and that changes the outlook of their lives and that leaves something on the inside of them so that they're never the same again, so that they go out and they do everything that they were ever created to be. It's just easier to sit down. It's just easier to write a contract. It's just easier to show a house. It's just easier to do an insurance policy. But to stand and know that if I go on the stage, the words that I say will be cemented into someone's mind. The words that I say could possibly prevent a child from committing suicide. The words that I say could stop someone from turning down the business opportunity that's before them. The words that I say could allow a marriage to come back together. The words that I say could heal a broken family. The words that I say could renew someone's mind. But what if they don't? What if I forget the words? What if I don't say the right thing? What if I go blank while I'm standing on stage? What if someone boos me? What if I don't connect with the audience? What if I don't move them? What if that student still fails their class? What if I don't make a difference? It's easier to not risk it. It's easier to not walk in that gift. It's easier to not have that pressure to succeed. It's easier to pretend to be something else. It's easier to not accept my gifts. I can protect myself. No one else will be watching. People won't be rooting for me to succeed in this. People won't be looking at me. It's easier. It's easier. But the problem with choosing easy, the problem with not owning who you are, the problem with not embracing the expectations that comes along with the greatness that is put inside of you. The problem with walking away from the call on your life is that there's someone's life attached to your obedience. There is someone's destiny attached to you walking out everything that you were ever called to be. But here is the bigger problem around not owning who you are, around not walking out who you were designed to be, around not being authentically you, is that it's an insult to God. It's an insult to why he created you, because he created you for a gift and a purpose and for a season. I told you, when we look at Jeremiah 1, what did he say? I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. He had a purpose for you from the very beginning. Even if we go and look at 29 and 11, the one everybody likes to quote. By the way, I'm using my Bible right now so that I can say things the right way. I'm reading out of the CSV if you want to know. But if we take a look at Jeremiah 29:11, what does it say? It says, I know the plans that I have for you, the plans of a future and a hope. So one end, he told us he knew us before we were formed in our mother's womb in Jeremiah 1. And then we go to Jeremiah 29. He says he knows the plans that he has for us. So when we're not owning who we are, when we're not being authentic to the gifts and talents that are put on the inside of us, then we're insulting who God created us to be. It's an insult to him. We're saying, oh, you messed up. Oh, you made it. No, and not even you messed up. We're saying, oh, I know that you called me to do this. I know that you kind of like gave me these gifts and these talents and these abilities. I know that you kind of said I could do this thing right here, but yeah, I'm not confident enough to do that. You know, like Moses did. I got to stutter. Yeah, no, I can't talk to those people. You want me to be the deliverer? Nah, bruh. Wrong person. Get somebody else to do it. Get somebody else to do it. That is what you're saying. And that is a problem. That's a problem. Because you're the person that God got to do it. He wanted you to do it. That's why he gave you the gift, the talent, the ability. He wanted you to do it, not somebody else. He gave them what he wanted them to do. He wanted you to be the baker. He didn't want them to bake. He wanted them to be the restaurateur, the person that opens the restaurants, that owns the restaurants. But he wanted you to be the baker. No, they got a business mind. They don't got a mind to cook. They cakes taste like trash. That's not what I gave them. But because you're not owning who you are, you're like shoving God's gifts and talents back in his face. We're not going to do that. In 2023, we're not going to do that. In 2023, we're going to stand tall in who we are. We're going to stand tall in who we were created to be. We're going to stand tall in every gift, every talent, and every ability that is on the inside of us. And we're going to start by sitting down and taking a look at what are my core values. What are my beliefs? Write them down. Then take a look at what are my goals? What are my desires? What are the things that I want to do, that I want to become? What makes me tick? What makes me happy? What makes me sad? What type of lifestyle do I want to live? Really start to think about who you are. What are my gifts? What are my talents? How do I incorporate them into what I'm doing in my career right now? Do they not incorporate in this career? Do I need to look into a different career field? It is okay to change careers. It's okay. People may look at you like you're crazy, but if that doesn't resonate with you, if that's not working, if you're coming home every day sad and depressed, and don't get me wrong, days are long, hours are long, and sometimes we do come home and we're worn out and we're tired because it was just a long, grueling day. But if you're always sad, you're always depressed, you're always dreading going to work, maybe you're just in the wrong career field, and it's okay to find something else. Don't get so caught up on the money that you decide not to be happy and you decide to not be true to who you are and to who God created you to be. You decide to insult him by not embracing everything that he put on the inside of you. It's time out for that. It is time out for that. It is time to embrace who you are. It is time to embrace who you are called to be. It is time to stand and to stand tall and to walk tall with your big girl and your big boy boots on and to be all that you were designed to be. And like I mentioned in the beginning, this year will be my 20-year class reunion. This year, I will have been out of high school for 20 years. And what is so funny, and I've mentioned it before, but it's ringing so true in my head right now, is that in high school, I won the class superlative that said most talkative. When I won it in high school, for some people, it may have come off as a joke. Like, oh, that's funny, she got most talkative. For others, it may have been tongue in cheek, them trying to like insult me. And for others, it may have been like, yeah, she talk a lot. And they didn't think anything of it. But for me, that one moment, that one act, that one thing stuck with me. But it didn't stick with me in a positive way. It stuck with me to the point where maybe I need to stop talking so much. Maybe I really do talk too much. I want most talkative. And then throughout life, people have said, You talk too much. You always have something to say. You're always giving information. Can't you just be quiet sometimes? And my brain would always go back to that winning most talkative. And I began to silence my voice, not realizing that before high school, before winning that superlative, when I go all the way back to elementary school and everything, I was the person that was always called on to speak in front of the class. I was the person to deliver messages. I worked for the school newspaper and talked for our school news channel and talked on the news. At church, I was the youth that was always called on to come up in front of everyone and speak on different topics or deliver a message or a poem, because there was a gift. My voice was a gift because it was my talent and it was my ability, and I wasn't afraid to be in front of people. And it took me going to college and changing my major to theater and being on stages and realizing that God gifted me with the voice to use. And now, 20 years later, after winning that superlative, I get paid to use my voice. I have a podcast that people listen to. I have an audience. I stand on stages and talk to other individuals using my voice because this was the gift that God gave me. And at one point in my life, I stopped owning who I was. I stopped owning that gift. And it took me almost 20 years from graduating out of high school to begin to own this gift. I didn't start owning this gift until 2022. I may have done things since high school. I have been on stages and I have been in plays and I have spoken and I have done speeches, but I didn't own it. Every time someone said, "You're a great public speaker," or "Oh my God, that was amazing. Girl, you blew us away," I toned it down. I found something wrong with it, as I told you guys in a previous episode. But God took a whole year. He took a whole year of getting me to consistently use my voice, a whole year of getting people to get me to be on other podcasts, a whole year of getting people to DM me and send me emails telling me how my message changed their life or their outlook, a whole year of me being hired to speak on stages, a whole year of me getting used to using my voice, a whole year of me getting used to owning who I was. That now, from 2022 to 2023, I own who I am. And I own that superlative of most talkative. I surely am. And I get paid to do it. I get paid to do what I like to do, which is talk. People hire me to talk. People listen to me talk. People expect me to talk. People desire for me to talk. So don't take 20 years to own who you are. Don't take 20 years to own what's on the inside of you. Don't take 20 years to be authentically you. And I can say it took me more than 20 years because I'm way more than 20 years old. But everything would have started in that moment when I was graduating from high school. I could have been so much further, but God knew what needed to grow inside of me. He knew what he needed to break. He knew what needed to be shed so that I can be who I am and I can stand tall and I can authentically say, I like to talk. I get paid to talk and people like to listen to me talk. So own who you are. Own who God created you to be. Stand tall in who he designed you to be, and don't shrink yourself and don't limit yourself and don't worry about what anyone else has to say, because you were created by the master craftsman to be you and no one else. And as we go on this journey, we're going to go on it together, and we're going to all walk through 2023 being all that we were created to be. I am so excited for what God is going to do in your life this year and for everything that he's going to do in my life this year. I can just look back on everything he's done last year. And so I know that it's going to be amazing and it's going to blow my mind. And it's going to be beyond what I could have asked for, I could have thought, or I could have ever imagined. And if that is true for me, it is true for you, because God has no respect of person. So stand in your confidence and just be ready and expectant for everything that's going to unfold for you this year as you begin to become authentically you and own who you are. And until next time, I want you to fortify your mindset, flourish in confidence, fuel your faith, and leverage every single gift the Master gave you. Peace.